Really?
Yeah, you know what happened? Wait, do you know what's happening with Celsius?
Yeah, bro. They like disabled all withdrawals and deposits basically.
Exactly, exactly. I think they can get liquidated. If Bitcoin dropped too far down, so I can lose everything.
Oh, dude, not good to hear, bro. I'm sorry about that.
So nuts. It's not fucking good right now.
Crypto, man. What a ride, bro. Honestly,
Yeah,
bro.
dude, that's unfortunately on these market conditions at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, the market is like not doing well right now, honestly. Like,
it's getting really slapped around.
yeah, man. Hoping we're gonna find like some footing here in a second because I'm like, bro, how low are we gonna go here?
Yeah, this is interesting, yeah, because how low, yeah, I think we're gonna be jumping quite low, maybe 13
Oof.
on that Bitcoin.
Yeah, man. It seems like we're gonna definitely get kind of down because I know we like last time we consolidated in like the $3,000 range or so, like at the very bottom. So that kind of makes sense to where we've been. But I guess we'll see it, man.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
For real though,
Made
bro.
a bet, commit to it. Just gotta go with it.
Hey,
Wish I put some stop losses.
oh, that's good, bro. Yeah, you gotta just kind of hope for the best, and I don't want to say prepare for the worst. Just hope for the best.
Truly. So yeah, I haven't been able to attend any of the previous morning meetings. But what is the current direction? I know that we are taking a little break before we launch because we don't want to repeat the mistake we did with our previous project.
Yep.
And this market is even more volatile than before. So
Yeah, I think
I can't
that's
I can't imagine what drip prices might be right now. Have you checked?
$10.
Oh, it's holding at 10.
Yeah, it's holding like nicely at 10.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be absolutely fucked.
Me too, bro. Like I'm honestly just like feeling so good that we're not having to go all the way to the bottom because it's just like, oh, dude, I can't take that honestly. Like I need us to have some good stuff going on here.
Uh,
But yeah, man. Basically, we're taking a few days, weeks of a break, kind of to get. I don't want to say get things together, but like we had um, we had an audit done like on the contract, and then we also like have this whole market situation that's going on. So like the audit went good. We have like a few things that need to get corrected, but like it's really not that big of a deal, right? Because most of them have already been like we called it out and we're like specifically told them to cover these items to make sure that it was done properly. So
mhm.
it seems like they found a few minor things. We're getting that corrected right now, so I don't really see like that's going to be an issue going forward. Um, I think that they'll basically just kind of like move on from there. The other thing is the C protocol, like basically the software that measures like all of the engagement and everything like that in the group. Um, that's going to get done, but it probably won't be done till Monday because we're waiting on an API change and we're also waiting on deployment. So that will be done in or it'll be in and out of one of these groups that we're all in so we can start testing. So other than that, we're kind of just waiting on everything to smooth out. So we thought it'd be a good time for us to kind of all talk and start getting in contact so that we can get the plans in place before we get to the next part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely, dude. Yes.
Sweet. So yeah, Mr. Crypto, I know you're working on like a bunch of numbers and like the financial projections, and that's kind of really where we were going to all kind of focus today. So if you wanted to give us, I guess, like a rundown of that, and then we can get a link to it eventually and what you need from us, then we can kind of just build off of that.
Okay. Yes. So to build any predictions in the business, like I have in my business, and the businesses are hard, we always have cash flow forecast. What it does, it gives us indications where we're going, when we can spend money, just to give us indications when we actually lose money and when we're gonna run out of the money as well. So it gives all these details. To create a cash flow forecast or any financial forecast for a project like this, it is a little bit different. But in the same basis, it's a business, and predictions would be similar. Okay, so what I need to know is what's going to be the cost of the coin, tokens cost. What's going to be the market up at the launch? We need to know all the planned budgets, like what's going to be. We have the numbers for percentages for the teams. You put 20% on team expenses, so we have split numbers and them. But what we would need to know, okay, what we're going to spend on marketing first month. What percentage growth we are looking, and how we be spending more than money, because more the project gets bigger, and there will be more investments required. So how much more money will be, what is the percentage of growth every month? Then, so what's the cost? So it's marketing costs, running costs, team costs, expenses. So as much as we can cut. So then I can, once we know the market cap, at the start, the token price. And then by putting market price up, we can identify the income, profits from the market cap.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense now.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Kind of that we're just looking to get like a prediction of what our growth and the potential of like income.
Yes. So, but for me to completely finish the spreadsheets, because I've started the spreadsheets, but I needed to know, okay, what's going to be the market up on the launch? What's going to be how many tokens we're going to have? How many tokens we're going to? It's going to be deflation. Yes, deflationary tokens. So it's going to go less and less, and as soon as time goes forward. So, but I will need to know the first numbers. Then I can start putting the formulas in and start working backwards from the information we know. Adding the formulas in so we know how the growth is going to happen, just so we can have indications. Okay, so month one we're going to have an income this if we have this market cap reached by this many users, well, this many investors, like holders. So all the predictions we can predict close, at least very close. But I would need to know these numbers. Yes.
So these numbers would be contingent to how well we do with the miners, right? Because the miner initially, with their $3,000 marketing investment to instigate this miner contract, is what is our basis of our funding for the token. So we can do like a best worst case, but this is very arbitrary at this point.
Well, it is, yes, but we would have some indications where we could go with that, just to give us an indications. Yes.
Okay. So we if anything, it will be like a hypothetical market cap, right? If we reach this market cap, this is the longevity of the project here, versus when it's at this level and yada yada.
Yes, but when you launch the project, there will be initial market cap for that.
Would there be?
Initial market cap? No. Any projects that launch is going to be the few hundred million market cap. What's going to be the market cap based on the price of the coin and amount of available?
So you say the initial liquidity, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the liquidity is determinant on how much of people go into our miners, and then we take from the taxes of those miners. And then from the miners, the taxes, then you can build a liquidity, which would in turn into your market cap. But we don't know how many people would be joining this miner.
Of course, no, but we could work on a worst case scenarios, and if there's going to be 100 in the first month, and then we can double it in. Just as an example, that gives us indications how we can project the project going. If there's only 100 in the first month and then it's 50 in the next month, by analyzing that, we can see, well, the project is actually failing. If it's in the worst case scenarios, by having this financial spreadsheets, we can actually see, okay, when the business actually runs out, well, when the project runs out of the money.
Jeff, could you reiterate how the tax system will work with the mining contract to build our fundings for the liquidity?
Yeah. So
Sorry, what was that?
he was asking the taxes for the miner. Like, what are the taxes for the miner? So I think the taxes for the miner is going to basically be an 8% tax on deposits, compounds, and like when I'm talking about compounds, strictly on the rewards on the compounds, and then on withdrawals, of course. So what that will basically do is, if we can get, like, let's just say we get 500K TVL in the miner, right? That would be basically 40,000 directly that gets transferred from us directly to the wallet. But also, what it would mean is that, like, you have an ongoing essentially, like, throughput of funds, right? Because every 48 hours, people are having to make decisions on what they're doing, so their rewards don't cut off. So whether that's compounding or whatever they're doing, there's still a tax associated with all of that, right? So in that way,
what is the estimated payout right now? Like, are you doing like a 3% ROI day over day, or is it what is it?
So there's a 3% ROI estimated day over day. The thing about our miner is there's like a few different features of this miner that are going to actually make it more sustainable. One of those is that you can choose to essentially withdraw. There's like a withdrawal cooldown time. So basically, like, you have to wait for it to withdraw. You can only withdraw like once every 24 hours. This can get pushed down all the way to 6 hours and can get pushed out all the way to like a week or so. But there's a withdrawal cooldown. The second thing is you have a withdrawal limit. So every withdrawal, you can withdraw 3 BNB. And so basically, you, like, if you do withdraw more than 3 BNB, then it's just going to get compounded back into the contract, right? Into your balance, but it's going to get compounded back. So in that way, like, technically everyone is limited to like a certain amount of income per month.
100 BNB then, right? Because if you're about estimated 3% and 3 BNB is your max pullout, then you're capped at 100 BNB.
Right.
At that 3%.
So you can get 100 BNB out of the miner and basically just continue to keep that consistent as long as you want to, right?
Well, it only makes sense not to put more than 100 BNB, right? Because anything else would just be forcibly compound.
Right. Well, all that's going to basically mean is that, like, you're going to basically reach that point faster. So if the cooldown time goes to, like, if it's 24 hours, then you can basically withdraw every 24 hours 3 BNB. In a month, that would be about 90 BNB. In a year, that would be like 1,000 BNB. So, like, it's designed where it's more of a it's just more sustainable. It's designed for with sustainability in mind, and it's also designed with the intent that, like, we're calling it a perpetual pre-sale because instead of like putting your tokens in and essentially just like, let's just say you put one BNB into a pre-sale, right? Like you're in a 100% risk profile there because like you're putting it in hoping to get something out, could drop, could go higher. Whereas here it's like based on the amount of BNB producing assets that you end up acquiring through like positive player action, so like compounding or depositing, then you will essentially be given a percentage of the tokens because we're going to be having like actual tax income off of the actions that you're taking in the contract. So the exchange there is that we will provide you with some level of tokenization for that. So, um, that's kind of like I guess the thought process behind it is that it turns itself into a good way to basically ROI on your token investment, and then for as long as
Okay.
the miner runs, then you end up basically having BNB income.
Okay. And then from the other mining projects that you've been working on as of late, what is a typical TVL that you guys hit or peak at?
So a typical TVL that I've seen is right around about 25,000. I think the thing about the TVLs that I've experienced in the past that have made the difference is um, no YouTube, right? Like no sort of outside marketing, just strictly like shilling and group ads, right? Like just the adding of the groups in the range of about 40,000 is the most that we ever did. So the reason why we keep going.
And then with what you believe is more proficient marketing will allow us to reach 10x of what you've been doing from your other projects.
Yeah, I think so because of like the fact of like, okay, so first of all, the budgets were probably about $300 to $400 for like all of the marketing.
Okay.
The second thing is that basically, like I said, there was no sort of like influencer investment, social media investment, anything like that. It all just kind of ended up where it's basically like just word of mouth investment. So we're doing a lot different by going and finding influencers to actually be ambassadors for the project. We're going and finding influencers that are going to actually make 10, 15, 20 videos. We're not sending 40,000 invites. We're sending over 300 to 400,000. So we're scaling everything up 10x, where it's basically realistic that we could actually hit these numbers. And then, we're also including the fact that, we have our own shilling team. We have our own automated shill bot that we're going to be running, and just a much wider audience in general. So that's the reason why I'm confident that we can hit these numbers, because all of those factors, and the factor of like the way that we've positioned it as a pre-sale, and the fact that we actually have the social the C engine, right? So like C is basically like you're getting paid tokens for invites, you're getting paid tokens for word of mouth marketing. So I think with all of those new innovations, that we can expect to have a much better outcome than we have in the past.
Okay. So let's just say the worst case scenario would be the 25K TVL, all right? Average 40K, and best case would be the 500K, right?
Yeah.
At the 25K TVL at 8%, right? The initial deposit that we get would be about 2K, right?
Yep.
What is your plans with that? Say hypothetically, that token allocate or that money allocation, right? How much of that is going to go to liquidity? How much of that is going to be refunded back into marketing? And based off that, would allow us to determine what would be the projected market cap for this token initially.
That's a great question. So I think that kind of the game plan there is if we end up with anything less than probably 100,000 TVL, the best probably course of action would be to secure another 5 to 10 YouTubers, right? Because I can.
So everything. So 100K would be 8K. You spend the entire 8K budget back into marketing.
If we get 100K, then I would basically say, like, that's the marketing budget for the token anyway, right? To me, the first most important thing for us to do is to set a precedent in terms of a goal, and then to work as hard as we can to move that goal to the goalpost. And what that goal personally would be 250 to 500K TVL. I've seen projects with about 1,000 people, in the group, reach these levels of about 125, 250,000 people total value locked. So I think it's realistic to think that if we have an average of 2,000 investors and each investor has put in $50 to $100, that we're right at those levels where we can begin to then separate funds into different places that they will be spent. And I think that we have enough marketing power and technology to kind of sustain this, to do what it would take to basically get us and grind up to that level, to be honest.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess the first thing would, if you can just give us your milestones and what direction you would take the project depending on the TVL achieved within the first week, and then from there we can kind of start planning the directions of where we should be taking the projects and the best and worst case scenarios in each scenario, right? If we hit under the 100K, what are we going to do? If we hit between 100 to 250 and 500K up. And then once we get that settled, then we can start talking, market cap and sustainability long term. Because this first hurdle could just stop the project, right? At a screeching halt if we hit under 50K TVL, right?
I don't think it stops the project. I think what it does is it kind of turns everything into what I would call like group maintenance. Because I'm glad that we're talking about this, because it's been a hard thing for me. What I think that we would end up doing petitions and slowly essentially grinding up to that point of tokens, to where we hit those levels, especially because like the two things that we have going for us are the fact that we have like the invite / adding bot, and then we also have like all of the incentive software to basically do these things and like move Twitter forward, move the needle forward on different platforms. So I would just be extremely aggressive with like AMAs, and specifically like YouTube AMAs, and bringing people on YouTube as cheaply and as quickly as possible. Because really like the plan would be, or how I've kind of laid it out so far, would be like we get the budgets moving at a good clip, and also like preserve capital so that we can, like, because in the market conditions that we're in, we don't know what's about to happen. So it would be just keep probably a consistent YouTube video coming out per week, and one AMA either in our group or other groups, run competitions, and continue to build up, and probably issue like new updates. Those updates would be a lot of them probably visual updates and being able to check balances and other different things. That's number one. Number two would be just targeting, as many airdrop groups and broken groups as we can, because like we have the ability to onboard all of these groups and give them a percentage of that 35% that will be airdropped over like a long period of time. So what we would do is just go in and find, failed projects, failed groups where people have essentially given up, give them a small airdrop, and have them register to our basically like our shilling software, so that they can earn more airdrops and like hopefully be compensated for those losses by being a part of our project. So like, I think having all of that guerrilla marketing as like the base of the project, and rather than being like, we're going to spend this much on YouTubers and hopefully everything works. All that means to me is like most of what we're doing is almost cost free, right? Like it's going to be reaching a lot of people. It's going to be cost free, and we'll be able to continue grinding forward on that indefinitely. And then the main thing for me is just taking that approach and that faucet along with influencers and people who have reach and piling it into as few days as possible to create as big of an effect as possible, and then like have a plan to sustain that after. Because I've already spoken with additional devs and stuff for the next, taking a step back and having the development for the token slightly edited, or it would be then just moving forward with the token system and the actual like marketing updates that need to be done. And I think, you know, between that, we have like a good solid plan. My main concern is what's going to happen, like you said, what's going to happen when we launch the miner. Like that's where my focus is, because I think as long as we can make that a favorable outcome, have contingency plans and a smooth narrative for everyone to follow, which would be like, hey, you know, we're running this and we're trying to get to X amount of TVL by this point, and running as many competitions and doing as much stuff as we can to get there. As long as we hit those numbers in that time frame, we can move to the next point. If not, then we just redeploy guerrilla marketing until we at least hit a fraction of where we know we can move forward confidently and comfortably.
Okay. I guess to kind of do any analysis, I guess what we need first is how we plan to do the initial budget. I recall you said you wanted to do the $3,000 funding from your own pocket. And then we just have to start creating best worst case scenarios. And then you can just kind of give us your intentions at different TVL levels. And then from there, we can kind of create some basic analysis, and then we can further discuss on it. I think that would be our first approach. Mr. Crypto, do you have any comments, questions?
Sorry, I'm just driving now, so hope can you hear me, guys?
We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just because I'm on the road. So yes, so based on the initial startup, I was talking about with Struck about having like a team treasury where we can also help and invest, just to make sure that TVL is actually much bigger than on the start. That would be one way we can actually help raise higher, to help deal with the costs.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one way. Based on what we just out now, what Druck just said about TVLA, we can do like a basic.
Lucy, are you finished talking?
Yeah, I'm just like I'm just driving as well. Yes.
Okay. So I guess Jeff, if you can provide us that kind of information and kind of the directions. In terms of like treasury fund, you mean like just a group funding to alleviate Jeff on the pressure of funding that 3,000, or adding more to it and participating in our own project?
Yes, adding more just to help Jeff to on these costs, and to be sponsoring the project yourself as well, because at the moment we haven't invested in the project. We're just helping with the knowledge and with the rest of the investment. With other things, yes, but hard cash, it's not invested. I'm happy to put the more cash down just to help. To be discussed, there is, market conditions at the moment is very bad. So, that will be, either we're gonna win or we're gonna lose. So it depends how people are gonna, feel in the next few weeks. Just thinking on this, just my thoughts is really, not rushing to launch the product. But really start following the market conditions, and in the meantime doing other things. If the market goes up and there's maybe altcoin season starts, so maybe launch the project then, because then will be people willing to invest in loads of other things, which means we definitely can succeed better. and have much higher TVLA than 25 first. Maybe I'll just make the notes on like 25 first week, maybe 50 second week, and maybe 100 in the first month. We can get there, and then that's the just the quick predictions.
My concern about a mining project is like over time your TVL usually does drop, no, right? Because as people liquidate your contract levels, right, your contract funding, over time it'll be hard to sustain it. It's just gonna get more and more difficult over time. Is that not
I
right?
agree.
Jeff?
100%.
It sounds like a make it or break it initially, right? If you don't hit a high TVL, then it just dwindles. I've never seen one that had like a second coming except for like drip.
So I think the main issue with most minor projects is the fact of like you have everyone stacked on top of each other, right? Like, and what that means is like if some whale comes in early and just decides he wants to put in, 10 B&B, the same way bonding curves work for like, automated market making on PancakeSwap or whatever. Like you buy from the liquidity pool, there's less in there, so the price goes up, right? The issue is everyone basically gets in order like a Jenga tower, where it's just like the person at the bottom can simply wait for the rewards to accumulate and then withdraw all at once, which basically puts a huge dent in the TVL, drops everyone else's daily, like what they were getting the other day, they're not getting now. So then everyone basically starts panicking out of it. So like, I guess like the withdrawal and the buildup is super key, which is why we have like the withdrawal limitations that we have. And then also like the feedback tax. If you withdraw more than once without compounding 10 times, then you end up basically going into an 80% tax, where 80% of everything that you have is basically compounded back into the contract. That's number one. So like you have all of those different withdrawal and limitations that will slow that bleed in terms of like how long it takes for all of the money to come out of the contract. And it will also keep people from building up their rewards, because you have a reward cutoff. Like you can only let it run for 24 to like up to a few days before you have to essentially take some sort of action. So that's number one, is like we'll slow that emptying out process down a whole lot. The other side of it is we have the time decay from Drip Garden. I think that's the only other project that has it only, right? So when you compound, you get some sort of ludicrous bonus that just basically takes up everyone's ability to actually, like, I guess, get the bonus. Like everyone gets the bonus is what I'm trying to say. So it basically makes it to where the payout is a lot quicker because everyone's getting this bonus. Whereas the time bonus takes like the Jenga tower and it spreads it out horizontally over time, because if someone comes in, they don't compound and they're simply just harvesting, or they're just basically like waiting and their rewards have gotten cut off, well then all of the like the price, the buying power is going up each day for whoever comes in. So the amount that you bought in at the beginning with is like greatly diminished after a long period of time. $300 a day later down the road by putting in $2,000, you know what I'm saying, at the beginning. So because of that, you have an incentive to kind of continue depositing into the contract. And like these types of contracts, what I saw before we made the tweaks is they tend to hold steady for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So when we added the extra features, we kind of added it to say like we would hope that this would be able to run long enough to where we can get it, we can build up the other part of the project and devote a meaningful percentage of the fees back and divert a meaningful percentage of the fees back into this contract to kind of keep feeding it as like a mechanism that we're using to raise capital, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Have you you mentioned Jeff? You mentioned that you did testnet, yes, on this testing how everything works, and a while ago there was like maybe a month ago and a few meetings ago, you did they were testing something as well.
yeah. So I was going to.
How does the test work?
It went really well. Actually, I was gonna in today's update, I was going to share I had Emmanuel host the link permanently now, so the testnet should almost is going to probably be hosted under, the URL/test. Right now, it's just sitting on the URL before we deploy, so everyone is going to get a chance to test it out starting to like that. Since we have the extra time, I want to start adding more of this clarity in to the documentation so that it's clear exactly what we're trying to achieve using this contract.
Okay, that's good. It would be really interesting just to check, test, yes, maybe see some flaws or improvements that need to make before, because we do have a time, and we definitely don't want to rush in these conditions at the moment.
Right. Definitely agree.
Okay, so we'll slowly do through the analysis. Still asking for the ranges and the directions you want to take, determining depending on the financial levels we are. If we can provide that, and then we can start breaking away on that.
Yeah, I think that expectations from like worst case to best case, probably like 10 levels, maybe 5 to 10 different scenarios. If we're under 50K, here's what we do. If we're above 500K, here's what we do. And we go from there, because I think what you guys are saying is super relevant. Like, it's going to be very different 50K than 500K. And I think we just need to understand that going into it and have a contingency plan to kind of do something about it, as we're going. Because at the beginning, we're going to be doing a lot of YouTubers and a lot of different like AMAs and call groups and stuff like that. So we want to make it super effective, but we also want to spread it out so like we don't lose momentum and we can continue to grow. So that's to you guys, and then we can like start unifying those numbers based on like, I guess, those predictions.
Okay. Can you also get a budget you need to you said £3,000, $3,000 yourself. What is the best scenario budget you need from the team? Just so we can put it into the pot. So it's important to know to be better on the start.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I need to. One thing I was waiting for was the permanent link, so I can talk to a few more YouTubers and like, because I'm going to talk to a few about like being ambassadors and some other different stuff, where they'll make more than one video and like kind of help bring their communities in. So I'll give you what the breakdown is currently on that and what I expect to spend, and then we'll do it like an exact budget again once everyone gets back to me, because basically I don't want there to be too much of a gap between us contacting them and then us doing business with them, so they know that we're serious. But I still do need to get like their quotes to put together an exact budget need to talk to. So I'll work on that as well and get that going so that we know exactly what to do from there. A bit nerve-wracking, but I think that we're at a good spot, and that we have a solid plan. So I will kind of like shoot out an update after we conclude this and just let everybody know exactly where we are. It seems like the groups are growing and things are moving forward, so we'll keep that momentum going. I am waiting to hear the deployment, but after that, we'll be able to test the social point, like measurement points system. And I have like a manual for that, so I'll be hosting that in the white paper. And then, in a week, 2 weeks, if we're like, hey, I think we're probably 4 weeks out from launch, 2 weeks before launch, we can turn that system on, let the mods get in there, get everybody kind of talking and the activity raised, and go from there, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Cool.
Sounds like a plan, dude. Yes.
So wait, if we're kind of gauging the market, right? Is there like a crypto markets?
I think we're kind of like playing it by ear. Like me and Mr. Crypto were talking like probably 4 weeks. We probably see them waiting for like the Fortune and the Forbes and all the other articles to basically either call bear market, call crypto winter, and kind of start like preaching on bargains in the market. Because then I know like 2 cents into it. So that's like best case scenario, most optimistic. I would love to see those types of narratives being pushed around in all of the call groups, and like just like when you have your finger on the pulse, you can see everyone's kind of positive about Bitcoin going to the next level, about altcoin season and things moving forward. That would be ideal. I don't know if we're going to be able to get there in 4 weeks, but hey, I could be wrong because we had the whole Terra Luna thing, and then 4 weeks after that, it was like everyone was super hyped to basically buy Terra Luna as Terra Luna Classic. So, things could swing either way, it seems like.
Okay. I mean, there is conversation another rate hike in July. Do you know about that?
Yep.
That could trigger another downturn, though. But yeah, just things to keep in mind. But like,
we'll have most of that stuff done. Monday is when I'm kind of expecting us to just be testing and waiting to get everything out. So, at that point, I think we'll kind of be understanding more of where we are, and then it will be like, one of two narratives. We're recovering, and we're trying to basically launch this project during get one BNB compounded up to where we can, every week. Then it's like one of those harvests will ROI you almost 5-10x. So I think we'll kind of like, if the market is still kind of in a different place, like we'll really focus on paying close attention to each person in our community since we know a lot of them, and then like giving that narrative of like, hey, this is really like the beginning part of us being able to build a good project with a good team. This team has been working for 8 to 10 months, so like really a lot of good projects are built in the bear market, and we have like the fortitude to not only survive this market, but to like thrive in this market and come back way stronger when prices begin to revive. So I think that, worst case scenario, that's kind of the narrative that we approach our community with, just being open, honest, and going from more of like an educational standpoint of like, hey, you might have gotten wrecked on this project that we're now compensating everybody for. And, we're here to basically give people compensation for wrecked projects, but also like from an investment standpoint, from a market standpoint, as people who have kind of been doing this for a while, this is what you can expect. This is how you can feel about, the market sentiment. And this is kind of like when the biggest gains are made, because that's my personal experience, is like when this type of stuff is happening and you have, Masternode going or something like that, it's kind of the one thing that I've found that like offsets the drop. You know what I'm saying? And when the prices go back up, like you have a lot more to show for it. So that's kind of the way, but also understand like, hey, as long as we can sustain the transaction cost to basically keep everything running, which, is pretty negligible in terms, then it's just like kind of like building that narrative up, building a super strong community, and invest $100, right? Like that's kind of like the way I'm approaching this. Because of the fact of like, hey, we might be going into a downturn, but like, I do think that mining contracts are being used incorrectly, basically, right? Like you're putting risk capital into IDOs, ICOs anyway, basically hoping for a moonshot. Whereas this is almost like you're loaning a small percentage of your capital to the team and then being like put inside of a contract where you can, if you're patient enough, you can basically get a ROI on your initial and walk away basically with zero invested, right? Like that's kind of the more of the thought process that I'm trying to push, because I kind of feel like that's the future of what we're trying to do, is like take more traditional instruments and kind of bring them into DeFi, and then ultimately build like a system of lending and around these projects. And I think that we have like a good token structure and a way to do that finally after looking at some projects and kind of tweaking a bit. So I think that's kind of the narrative that I want to push from the start, is instead of like, hey, you're going to invest in this miner and we're going to take all the money that we make from the miner to do a new project, it's going to be like, hey, you're putting risk capital in the ICOs anyway, so we're using this less like a miner and more as a tool to basically take a small loan from you guys, build our protocol, and give you something that can give you ROI on that initial investment, so that you can kind of be in more of a favorable position than you were when you made the investment. You're not just waiting to get this capital back by buying and selling. You're doing it by kind of owning a piece of the network, which is like, how professionals invest anyway, like getting dividends and all those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Guess I don't have much else to add. I do need to hop off right around now. I got a meeting to take.
Same here. I think Mr. Crypto is doing some family stuff, so I think we're at a good spot, guys.
Yeah. No, I lost you for a little bit, but I think I don't have any more questions as well. I think everything else was just clarified as well.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for taking the time, guys. I know we're all busy, so I do appreciate you guys, being patient and with everyone and taking the time. I'm just excited that we're all together making a project. Doing it for the passion. So hopefully it all shakes out. I think we have a good plan and a good team. Like I said, I'm super blessed to have you guys just working with me and being my friend. So, we'll keep pushing it forward, and I will get you all those questions. We'll finish the audit report, and then we'll try to figure out how to get this community.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Jeff.
Good day.
Good talking to you, Mr. Crypto. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.